tonight. I'm going downtown. 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 Hey, ain't nothing you can tell me that I don't already know.
Today is Friday, November 15th, and you are listening to In the Core. My name is Oti, and I'm one of the co-hosts for this amazing show. And in front of me is my fellow co-host, Swap. Say what's up, Swap.
This is very uncomfortable. Very, very uncomfortable.
Why, you're not trying to look into my eyes? I feel like
So I have that control now. I can pull the mic away from you whenever I want. So we have a little bit of technical difficulties with OT's amazingly purchased laptop. So shout out to that brand name, which no one should buy a laptop for. But unfortunately, we're running off one mic today. So you might hear some issues. Still got a good show for you because we're that good. And guess who's back? Producer Gurveer. Say some words, Gurveer.
What's up, guys? I'm just chilling back here. I'm loving this one mic setup. It's like it's like a team building exercise, don't you guys think? It's like Six Sigma or something.
I think it's giving Swap a workout, actually, because he's moving this mic around like a reporter.
Next break, you're taking this. How's life, Oti? I hear that you played some soccer against a fairly impressive squad last night.
So, I was back on the soccer field after rehabilitating my right knee. We played the engineering women's team, the futsal team, and I was playing for the industrial engineering futsal team. And it was a fun experience. I got a couple goals here and there. We played the engineering women's team first, and then we also played the engineering science team. We tied them. So they beat us in the classroom, but we tied them on the soccer field. So
let's do a little recap. You played the engineering women. And then you played the engineering science team, probably which most of them have never seen a soccer ball before. So congratulations, FYI. So Oti's saying something in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear him. It started snowing. Hey, snowing in Markham. So my prediction last week came true. What do you guys think? Was it snowing in Brampton, Gurveer?
No, it was not. But it was just very windy and very cold.
It was very windy and very cold because I go home a lot around midnight this weekend. I was freezing my ass off.
We'll have to bleep that out. Something else related to Brampton that's doing pretty cold as well. Anthony Bennett, who had a career high of 6 points. 6 points. 6 points, guys. Career high. This guy is a superstar in the making. What do you think, Brampton?
Okay. First of all, he's a rookie. It's a bit of a cold start, but you got to look on the other side. You got to look at Tristan Thompson, who's killing it right now for the Cavs. He could be a legit starting forward on any championship team. That's what he looks like.
It's the system. It's the coach. It's Mike Brown. It's everything.
Cleveland. Mike Brown coached LeBron James, didn't he? So what happened this week? Something serious note. Typhoon Haiyan. And listen to this for a second. 195 mile per hour winds. Let's put that into perspective. Hurricane Katrina at its high, and I'm hoping you guys know what Hurricane Katrina was. At its max, not at landfall, at its max was 170. At landfall it was like 130. And this thing made landfall in the Philippines at 195. How fast do you drive on the 401, OT?
I don't drive on the 401, Swap. But if I did, it wouldn't be that fast.
So 195. Let's say the average speed on a highway is 100 kilometers an hour, which is 65 miles an hour. I don't know, do your American conversion there. 65 miles. So let's say 60 miles an hour. Okay. This is 195 miles an hour. That's 3 times the speed of a car on a freeway. And imagine, the amount of, the wind speed on that. So they're estimating 10,000 people dead. So what do you guys think?
I mean, with these things and just trying to follow some of the when it hits America, sometimes they try and tell people to evacuate and stuff, and there might not have been places for them to evacuate to, or they might not have been as aware as they should have been. So it's just an unfortunate incident that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I agree with Oti. I think one thing we got to realize is that it's going to be tough for these still developing countries to really have a good functional plan. I mean, we saw the U.S. didn't have a great plan for Katrina, so it's unfortunate that it happened. And thoughts and prayers out to all those affected and families too.
Another point: if you live in New Orleans, you drive up the interstate and you're fairly safe when a hurricane comes. If you live in the Philippines, you have to leave the country. You have to get on a plane and leave the country to be safe. So some tough things there, but our thoughts and prayers and goes out to the people of Philippines. I know we have a lot of Filipino friends, so we're hoping that their families are all okay. And go to the Red Cross, the Canadian Red Cross website if you would like to make a donation. The Canadian government will match every dollar that a Canadian donates. Snapchat. Let's change it up a little bit. We'll talk on a bit more positive topic, although it might not be so positive for the founder of Snapchat, who did what today, Oti?
Not today, Swap. But he refused.
What day is it today, Oti?
It is Friday, November 15th, and you were listening. There was a rumor or a report that came out saying Facebook actually tried to buy Snapchat for about $2 to $3 billion, which in comparison, Instagram sold to Facebook for $1 billion about a year ago today. So I don't know. Snapchat, they really value themselves. Swap, what do you think?
Would you take, if I gave you $3 billion, Gurveer, for In the Core Productions, would you accept that?
Probably not. In the Core has no limit, man. It has no limit.
That's that Pittsburgh clothing talking to you. What's next? Valedictorian. So guys, two of us are graduating. One of us graduated already. And pretty soon the nominations for the valedictorian will come out. And I believe, similar to like the presidential candidates, I believe we have an announcement from one of our co-hosts.
On Friday, November 15th at 6:35 p.m., Oti Declares put his name forward to be a valedictorian candidate for the class of 1T3 plus PEY/1T4 engineering class.
Boom. Silence in the room. So as I said before, once upon a time, Donald Trump ran for something, Rob Ford, so people who don't deserve titles can nominate themselves. I just want to put that out there. Gurveer, were you class valedictorian back in the day?
Probably in kindergarten. Actually, no, not kindergarten. Probably grade 5. Grade 5 is my best graduating class.
You graduated from grade 5?
Well, yeah. I mean, my school was like you, grade 5, and then grade 6 was in a different school, right? So I'll say grade 5 was the only chance I had to be valedictorian.
Is that Brampton style education? PS4 lineups. Did either of you stand in line to purchase the PlayStation 4?
See, I'm not a big video game guy anymore, but even if I was, I wouldn't buy the PS4 because we are an Xbox family in my house, man.
Well, that was a bad decision by your family. What about you, Gurveer?
Yeah, we definitely, my family leans toward the PS4 side. My cousin was like going crazy, like going out with so many machinations about how he's going to get this PS4 at midnight, and he got it. So I don't know how much sacrifice he made though. So shout out to him.
Yeah, but congratulations to Sony. Congratulations to PS4. I don't know. If anyone, Des Bryant, I would like to purchase PS4 for myself. I will be at Best Buy at Heartland tomorrow at 5 p.m. Des Bryant, I know you're listening. Shout out Dallas.
And did you hear about the reverse thing Roy Hibbert did? He said he wants you to buy him a PS4, then I'll hang out with your family. So it's like pretty much he's saying, okay, I'll hang out with you, but only if you give me a PS4 and wait in line for me.
So the Best Buy in Heartland, I apologize. I'm sorry that if we bring upon any unwanted attention, once again, this OT's comments do not reflect In the Core comments. Guys, anything else that went on in the world of anything non-sports related? No? Okay.
Are we going to mention it?
Or what are we going to mention?
Are we done with that?
The mayor? I don't know if we can talk about the mayor. This awkward segment brought to you by Gurveer. We'll be back with some basketball, some football, and some other stuff. I'm good. In the Core.
Because one is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. One is the loneliest number that you'll ever know.
Okay, so we're back here with In the Core, and we're going to move on to our first segment, which is going to be the NFL talk. And I'd like to give some player updates at this time. First off, Ed Reed got released last week by the Houston Texans, and he is signed with New York Jets. So the Jets, who are actually in playoff position right now, just got better in the secondary, and we'll see what happens. Moving on, Dwayne Bowe, Mr. Kansas City Chief, number 2 offensive weapon, got arrested for weed this week. And apparently 30 to 40% of pro football players smoke weed weekly. So
you heard this from Sam Hurd? Is this where you heard this number from?
No.
Where'd you hear this number from?
Sources.
Sam Hurd. Sam Hurd was he used to be a receiver for the Bears and I think the Cowboys. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison for drug trafficking. And in his last interview before jail, he says, "Oh yeah, 50% of the league does marijuana." So good, very accurate sources you got there.
Yeah, sources. Dude, ESPN says sources. I could say sources too. Moving on, Jermichael Finley. It's been a tough season for Jermichael. He hurt his spine, I believe, and there were reports coming out saying he might never play the game again unless he gets surgery. So that surgery is actually being planned and might be taking place this weekend, if I may be correct. So we wish Jermichael Finley the best, and our fantasy teams wish Jermichael Finley the best. And that's player update. Swap.
Recap of last week, Pigskin preview. Catch it on Cannon.school.ca. 2 big stories, Oti, and I'm surprised that you weren't on these. The Buccaneers and the Jacksonville Jaguars both won their games last week. And let's explain this a little bit. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, amazing game. They had to have Jake Locker be out for the season in order to win their game against Tennessee. And the Buccaneers, they needed the Dolphins to have a bullying scandal and their entire organization be ripped apart in order for them to win. And they almost lost. Let's just face it. So no more undefeated teams. The 1975 Buccaneers and the 2008 Lions, they get to both maintain their grail as the only teams to never lose a game. The Kansas City Chiefs are undefeated after their bye week, in which they play no one. So they're still undefeated. The 1972 Miami Dolphins need to be watching out for this week, and we'll get into that a little bit. Games of the week from last week. Gurveer, give us an update because I really, really, really want to hear this.
All right. I remember Oti mentioned on the show last week he wants a clean slate. That doesn't happen here on In the Core.
So let's give Oti a clean slate from last week. Let's see what happens.
All right. First, we'll start with Swap's picks, though. We'll start with Swap. Swap was very impressive. He went 3-0 last week. So a clean slate really working in his favor. Then you have Oti. Oti incorrectly picked the Bengals, incorrectly picked the Bears, and incorrectly picked the Cowboys, making his record 0-3.
Speak, Oti.
Listen, Hail Mary, I pray to the gods. They give Bengals a Hail Mary, and they still lost the game. And they had a 4th down in overtime where they could have punted the ball to whoever they lost to, who slips my mind right now, to the Ravens, Super Bowl champion Ravens. And listen, they weren't listening to what I had to say, so unfortunate. And Chicago, Jay Cutler decided he wanted to be Superman, but he's not Superman, and he cost the team the game and all that. So, yeah.
3-0. 3-0 for myself. I'm very proud. Gurveer, give us an update on the standings.
All right, standings. So, Swap moves up to an impressive 11-7 after the 3-0 performance. After my injuries, I'm still at 8-7. And then Oti moves down to 4-14. I don't know how you can move down when you're undefeated, but when you're already last, but Oti does it. But all seriousness, Oti is definitely a good, knowledgeable football fan.
I would disagree with one game in which we didn't pick as the game of the week. So we didn't actually make picks, but Oti had made a bold prediction earlier on in the year, saying San Francisco would win the Super Bowl. Lost to the Carolina Panthers. So good job, Oti. Always living up to your name. Let's talk this week. This probably has to be the best week of the season. Would you disagree? In terms of games, quality of games up there. So number 1, and we'll get to number 1 last. But number 2, Sunday night, Never mind. Let's do this again. Number 1, Monday night. The New England Patriots travel to Charlotte to play the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, aforementioned, coming off a pretty impressive victory, although not on the offensive side, against the San Francisco 49ers. They will take on the tough New England defense. And Tom Brady, who's looking to sort of hit his stride with Gronkowski. Dobson is doing some things. Kimbrell Tompkins doing some things. They've taken charge of the AFC East. The Carolina Panthers are in a battle with the New Orleans Saints in their division for the NFC South. Guys, who do you think are going to win this game on Monday night?
I mean, you got to look at what New England did in their last game against the Steelers, and even though Carolina's on a 5-game winning streak, I'd have to go with the experienced Tom Brady and the offense, which is starting to click again. And like you said, Dobson's starting to emerge, and Gronkowski's in full flow. So I'm going with the Patriots by 7.
Yeah, I think this one could be a low-scoring game because you got the great Carolina defense is really coming into form, and you have the good New England defense. But I think New England has definitely as advantage at offense. They have so many different options again. I assume Gronkowski will finally return to form. And I say, New England takes it by 10. New England takes it by 10.
So both of you taking the Patriots. I am taking the Panthers. Even though I picked Tom Brady, to do big things this year, I think the Panthers look really good and they're playing at home. New England has shown signs of weaknesses throughout the year, and when you play a tough team like Carolina coming off an impressive win against San Francisco, I think that they're going to stand a strong chance to win. Panthers by 7. Next game. This game is fairly impressive as well. We talked about the Panthers of that game against San Francisco. Well, San Francisco, it doesn't get any easier for them. They're going on to New Orleans and the Louisiana Superdome to play the New Orleans Saints, who Oti incorrectly picked to lose against the Cowboys last week. San Francisco, once again, coming off a tough loss. They've had a couple tough losses after reeling off 5 straight wins. It's time to rewrite the ship if they can. They're still down, I think, by 2 games now in the NFC West. So fighting for that wild card spot, fighting for that division lead. Meanwhile, the Saints, coming off that win, are back on track. They are in the lead in the NFC South, but the Panthers are hot on their trail, so they need to make sure they get every win they can. Guys, who are you picking?
Well, it's tough to pick against New Orleans Saints, but like Swap mentioned, San Francisco had won 5 games in a row. Thanks for not mentioning that once on the show, Swap.
Okay, so this is what your statement was. As Swap mentioned, San Francisco had won 5 games in a row on the show. Thanks for not mentioning that, Swap. Think about that.
You literally just mentioned it, so I said thanks for mentioning it on the show since you hadn't mentioned it in previous weeks. But anyways, San Francisco will get back on track after playing one of their worst offensive games of the season. Vernon Davis had like 2 yards, no thanks to him. But we wish him well. We hope he's back this week, and I'm taking San Francisco by 3 in a close encounter.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the points OT made. Vernon Davis is questionable leading into this game, so he's facing some nagging injuries. But I think Gore will have the option. I think he has a chance to break out against this run defense. So I'm gonna say Niners by 3, but it can go either way.
I got the Saints. Saints are good. That's all I gotta say. Drew Brees. Saints by 3. Next game, biggest game of the year so far. The undefeated Kansas City Chiefs and the almost undefeated, but still high-flying, record-setting Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning. This is a Sunday night game. It was the flex game on NBC. What do you guys think?
This is all you can imagine. Not early in the season, but kind of midway through the season, and division rivalry. Well, now a division rivalry. 2 top teams. Denver, Chiefs, they say they've never really played anyone, but Denver, I'm going with Denver in this game. Peyton Manning back, hopefully, playing at a high level, hopefully. And, he didn't miss last week, but he got hurt late in the game. But I'm going with the Denver Broncos by 14.
Yeah, I mean, if the Chiefs are going to win this game, they're going to really need to play the best defense they played this season. I mean, if Denver's on, they're going to be on. They have so many options. Damari's still coming off a hot week. Walker not coming off a good week, so Walker could easily be a good option for Peyton Manning. So really the question is actually Peyton Manning himself. He's had some ankle issues coming into this game. Will he be able to get a step back, get his deep throws off, get his slot option throws off? Really, yeah, I'm still going to think Denver in this game, and I'm going to pick Denver by 7.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are good. I think I don't know if they're gonna win. They got a strong defense. I have Alex Smith starting at quarterback because of my injury to Aaron Rodgers. But I still think the Broncos are too high powered for the Chiefs to be able to put up those kind of numbers. Broncos by 3 points. Those are game of the weeks, guys. I think we all are unanimous on the one, but we're differing on the other two. So, Oti, you have a chance of trying to catch me. We'll be back. We're going to talk some Wiggins. We're going to talk some Blitz. We're going to talk some sad news from the NHL, especially for Team Canada fans. And we are going to talk what appears to say MIT. I'm looking on the big board. You are listening to In the Core.
The Bucks, last week they were up 21-0 and ended up losing. This week they were up 15-0, lost the lead, but came back and won. For the Miami Dolphins, a team that has just been rocked by off-the-field stuff the last week to 10 days, this one was especially tough.
And we're back here on In the Core, and we're going to talk about some tennis. And we're joined by a guest right now, Meghan, second-year ECE. We're going to pass it over to Meghan to introduce himself.
Hi guys, Meghan here, second year ECE. I was originally from Mississauga, but basically living in Toronto now. I plan to specialize in energy and software.
So Meghan, by the way, amazing intro by Gurveer. Very proud of you. We had to give him a break, and that was his big break. We'll see what the record studio says. But Meghan's amazing. Thanks for joining us. We're all tennis fans here at In the Core, big hardcore tennis fans, and to share this kind of love for the game with someone is always a pleasure. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into tennis?
All right, so the story is kind of ridiculous, so bear with me. When I was in grade 6, I was really fat and unhealthy. I'm not even joking about this. And we used to have those annoying beep tests in gym class, and I didn't do very well. So at one point, I was like, I've had enough. I have to do something about this. Not even for like the ladies or whatever, for my own personal health. So I tried to go for a run, but that didn't work. But I noticed that on my running route, I would run by some tennis courts, and I see people playing. So I was like, hey, that's pretty sick. I want to try that out. So I went home and I talked to my dad, and I was like, hey, Dad, I'm not a very physically active person. I need to change that, and I want to get into tennis. And my dad actually, it turns out that he was a big tennis player when he was a kid. So he saw this as an opportunity to get back into what he loved doing, especially and make it something that he could do with his son. So it was really special for him. So we went out and got tennis rackets. There happened to be a couple courts nearby, and that's how it started. Amazing stuff.
OT has gone out to try that beep test again. This is a role model for you, OT. All right, look at what the future can be. So let's talk about some tennis here, and we've come to the end of the ATP, for the most part, the ATP season. Right? I know it's kind of like a year-round thing, but for all intents and purposes, we're done. The year-end rankings are out. We're done. Let's start from the beginning, and we'll work our way back to last weekend with the ATP World Finals. So let's start with the Aussie Open. Djokovic, right? Sorry, it's been a while. So Djokovic takes the Aussie Open. Great start to the year. Just give us, what are your thoughts on that early start to the season? And we'll go from there. Let's go to the French. Let's talk about Nadal dominating at the French. Let's talk about Nadal losing early on, as well with Federer at Wimbledon in that historic matchup against Del Potro between Djokovic, and then Andy Murray taking Wimbledon once and for all. Then let's talk about the U.S. Open and how it wasn't the most epic match ever, right? But and we were all down except for Oti who bailed on us. We were all downtown watching it at Hoop Sports Bar, which I will not recommend to anyone. But nevertheless, a defining moment of the season for Nadal, and he kind of stole the ranking there. But I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I mean, the Australian Open is kind of Djokovic's slam. Like at this point in time, all the top players kind of have, their tournament that is, theirs. For the longest time, Federer had Wimbledon, Nadal had the French Open, and when Djokovic broke onto the scene in 2008 and won his first Australian Open, except for that little, dwindle in 2009 when he backed out because it was too hot. That's essentially what happened. You guys remember there's a match against, I think, Andy Roddick in the quarterfinals. It just got too hot. That was back when he needed ice packs around his neck. He just gave up. Other than that, he's been stellar at that tournament. Nadal wasn't playing that tournament. He was pretty much guaranteed to win there. So nothing really special happened there.
Yeah, so let's talk about Nadal a bit. Like, Nadal had an incredible season, no doubt. But what do you think it holds for him? I mean, he's had some troubles, we'll talk about the end of the season now. He's had some troubles in indoor hardcourt, and he's really been pushing for a change of surface, a change of city, both of those, right? So what do you think Nadal can do to finally get the last feather in his cap?
What I think Nadal's done better this year than any other year is manage his schedule and manage his injuries. It's no secret that he doesn't treat his knees very well, but I think one of the main reasons he was able to do so well this year is that he managed his schedule very well. He skipped Australian Open, which I don't think he's going to do that next year, but as far as his comeback is concerned this year, I think that was a very crucial move. He started off with small tournaments to get his confidence up and then got into the game of things. He did have a good year, but I think that he got a lot of help from Federer and Djokovic in the sense that Federer, by any other tennis player standards, yes, he had a great season, but by Federer standards, he's having like a crap season. Not only that, the epic French Open match between Nadal and Djokovic, Nadal really, he was up in the fourth set and he could have ended there, but he didn't. And Djokovic was up 5-2 in the last set, and he was unlucky. There was that one big overhead smash that he missed. There was another point that he should have won, but he ended up touching the net by a little bit and he lost that. And I think that just crushed him. He's not a bad tennis player, but to lose a match 9-7 in the fifth against Nadal on clay, you can't just walk home after that and be like, yeah, okay, I did pretty well. It's heartbreaking. So I think Nadal had that kind of psychological advantage against Djokovic for most of this year that Djokovic had against him in 2011. So while he did have a good year, and we can see it now that Djokovic is no longer number one, but the day he lost that ranking, since then he hasn't dropped a match. He's won 3 tournaments in a row. So, Nadal is having a good season, but it's not all his fault. So
a couple of things to follow up on that, and I want to get your opinion on this. And Gurveer, if you want to chime in, feel free to chime in as well. We talked about the last, 3 major tournaments of the year being indoor hardcourt. And that's the indoor hardcourt season. But to have now, if you take the Australian Open, the US Open, and the World Tour Finals to be played on some form of hardcourt, is that fair? What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, I think you have to also look at these tournaments aren't using hardcourt just because they want to play on hardcourt, right? Hardcourt is the most economical method to play tournaments, right? You're going to play in November. You're going to play in a city like London, possibly maybe even New York. A lot of these major cities that are going to be a bit colder at this time. And to put indoor hardcourt is going to be the most feasible way you're going to make a big tournament in November at the end of a season. So I think it's going to be tough to change that. Nadal has been talking about he wants indoor clay. I think there's been a lot of challenges with that. I think Serbia did that for their Davis Cup, and there's a lot of criticism about that surface, more so than an indoor hardcourt, even from players who do like the clay courts.
As far as I can tell, the other 2 surfaces, clay and grass, all Grand Slams used to be grass, but then they switched over to hardcourt. As was mentioned, it's more economical, and I think the only people that really have an attachment to those surfaces are the tournaments in Europe, I think, grass and clay. So, that's only one small fraction of the tour. So, it may not be fair, but, nobody else has as big of a problem with the hardcourt as Nadal. It is worse for people's physical health when compared to clay and grass, but other players, they don't have as big of a problem with it simply because they don't treat their knees as poorly. So, I think it's maybe not fair, but it's the most economical solution.
So we talked a bit about Rafael Nadal and the great season he's having, the great start that Djokovic had, and the great ending that Djokovic had. Let's talk about someone who hasn't had such a great season, and that being, in my opinion, the greatest player, at least so far, Roger Federer. So Roger Federer, no Grand Slam victories. I think he made 1 Grand Slam semifinal. And that was the Australian. No Masters wins at all throughout the year. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, he only won Basel. Did he win? So he won 1 tournament. Okay. Is this the end of Roger Federer? And when I say end, obviously he's not retiring tomorrow, but are we ever going to see him as dominant? Are we ever going to see him win a major tournament, or a Grand Slam for the rest of his career. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I think it's stupid to write him off from never winning another Masters or Grand Slam, but I don't think we're going to ever see the same kind of consistency that we saw 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, maybe even 2009. And like, he's 32. Give him a break. I mean, he's still a good player, but I mean, if you can't expect people to be able to do the same things as they used to when they were younger. I think that he's still got maybe 1 or 2 Grand Slams left in him, but I don't think that he's got a couple more years where he'll win 3 out of 4 Grand Slams, make it to the final of the 4th.
Yeah, I think if Federer can really find his stroke again, I think he needs 2 factors going away. He's going to need, first of all, to win those 7 matches in a row it takes to win a Grand Slam, but I think he also needs this year was probably some of the best tennis between Nadal and Djokovic combined. So it's going to be tough to win a Grand Slam anyway. And then whether it was Australian, whether it was the US Open. So he's going to need a bit of a drop off, a bit of off years for both those guys. And he's going to need probably 7 victories. So it's going to be tough. I'm going to probably say he has like a 45% chance, 45 to 55% chance of winning another Grand Slam. But it's going to be a few more factors going to have to go his way than in the past, where he felt like he had a lot more control of his game, a lot more control of his destiny, right?
So let's talk about the Canadians this year. And it was a historic year for Canadian tennis, of course, both on the men's and the women's side, but especially on the men's side. And it all kind of culminated one week in August when both myself and Gurveer were slogging it out over at the Rexall Center. In Montreal, some magic was happening. Milos Raonic and Vasek Pospisil, 2 Canadians making the semifinals for the first time ever, I believe, in a Masters event. And Milos Raonic, of course, advancing to the finals only to be absolutely destroyed by Rafael Nadal. But the success did not end there with Davis Cup action, where the Canadians reached the semifinals for the first time, and they played Serbia on that indoor clay court, as you mentioned earlier, Gurveer. So overall, a historic year, successful year. Do you think that this is going to keep on going into the new year?
I think so, because I think what this year showed Milos Raonic was that he has the ability to keep up with the big players in the game, but all that he has. Like, the only thing he needs now is the experience and the belief that, I can compete with these guys. I can beat them.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. This is probably next year. You're going to see both, you see Pospisil really hitting a stride this year. And I think he can continue that into next year. And Raonic is going to be 24 next year. So that's usually when a player will start to peak. I'm not saying he will peak, but like it'll be around the age where we'll start to see among the best tennis from Milos if he can really hold this streak that he had going, of course, through the Rogers Cup and into next year.
So, Megan, before we let you go, we always like to have our guests make some sort of prediction. And with the season being over, it's kind of tough to make a prediction now. But one question that I've always kind of struggled with is what happens next once the Big Four leaves? And I've always been under the theory that, Federer is essentially on the downward swing, and there's going to be a period of time where it's just Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray dominating everything. Nadal, in my opinion, would be the first to go after that with all the toll on his knees, and any injury from here on out might be his last. And then you have that Djokovic-Murray period. But then, at this age, at this point in time, we would have seen, like, Federer was already a superstar in his in his early 20s, right? Nadal was already a superstar in his early 20s. Djokovic was already a superstar in his early 20s. There's no one in their early 20s right now who's kind of just, it's an obvious, yes, this is the guy who's going to take the realm of the sport. Who do you think in your mind, and it might be more than one person, but who in your mind is going to become that next superstar?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to be that next superstar when you have to compete with, Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer at the same time to be that superstar. But I think Juan Martín del Potro is definitely a candidate. I mean, he was out for most of 2010 and he wasn't doing so well in 2011 and 12. But in 2009, he did manage to win the US Open in an epic 5-set final. The year before, the summer of 2008, he had like 4 tournaments back all in a row leading up to the US Open, still made it to the quarters of the US Open, lost to Andy Murray, not because he was, a bad player, but it was exhausting, right? And Delpo, we saw him go to the semifinals of Wimbledon this year, took Djokovic to 5 sets, made him run for his money, and then he absolutely destroyed Nadal in Shanghai. So And I don't know if you guys have seen that guy play, but like his backswing on his forehand is virtually nothing and demolishes that ball. So, I mean, he has it in him, and if he stays healthy, he'll definitely be a contender for the top spots. There's also Tomas Berdych, and I think there's also a lot of talk about Dimitrov.
And I also think it's kind of tough to predict who's going to be the next guy now, because tennis is still a very, very young sport, but it's getting a bit older. So you're seeing guys hitting the stride a bit later in their careers. Like, it used to be early 20s, you could be the best player in the world. But now you have to be in your mid 20s now to probably reach that stage. So I think it's probably a little too early to say who's going to take those reins yet. So it's a bit of a cop out, but I'm going to say it'll probably be a player who's probably playing in a junior tournament now. He'll probably be the next guy who can step in and take over in that interim period.
Interesting point. So, Megan talking about Del Potro, Berdych, and Dimitrov. Dimitrov, interestingly enough, has been compared most like Roger Federer. And if you watch him play, if you ever watch a Dimitrov-Roger Federer match, it's almost like watching a mirror image. Not exactly, but it's pretty cool. Everyone had that. There was a lot of talk about Bernard Tomic but then, he's had his issues. His dad, yeah. I don't know. It's tough. Gasquet, there was a lot of hype around Gasquet once upon a time, and he had a good year this year. And same with Wawrinka, but they're getting older. And I don't know if they're gonna, like, Wawrinka's the same age as some of these guys, so I don't know if they're gonna, that's old, yeah, so he's not, I don't think he's taking over anything, but, and how shocking is this? There is not a single American male who you think of that could come and take over. There's not one. So it's a different time. Megan, thank you so much. Oti, please turn around. You have a visitor. Megan, thank you so much. We will try, and this has been great. Always love talking tennis, and we will definitely try to have you back come February when it's the Aussie Open time, and we can talk a little bit more about, what's going to happen. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. That was Meghan Lele. He's a second-year ECE student. I almost forgot that for a second. Tennis expert, so go find him. Check him out in GB or BA, where the ECs hang out. We'll be right back in the core.
He's missed it, and Djokovic wins. He successfully defends his title here in London. And, of course, the winning streak now stands at an incredible 22 matches. Novak Djokovic finishes the season in the best possible manner.
So we're back here and in the core, and we're going to switch gears one time, and we're going to talk about some basketball. And not your typical basketball segment, actually. We're going to talk about college basketball, so the kids, and pretty much the next wave of superstars that we expect to take over the league in a couple of years, or 1 to 2 years. And we're going to start off with Canada's own Vaughan's own Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, as you may know, number 1 recruit in the class of 2013, signed with Kansas over Kentucky and some other teams, and he's off to a good start in his college career. His Kansas team is 2-0 and just came off a tough victory in one of the most highly contested and highly captivating college basketball games that I have personally watched. And he went toe-to-toe against Jabari Parker, the top 5 player also in the class of 2013. And him, Parker, and this other dude, Julius Randle, beast, Zebo Part 2, who plays for Kentucky, who's 1-1 at this point. They're being talked about as possibly the top 3 in the next generation of franchise-changing players. Swap, what do you have to say about these guys?
This is going to make college basketball really interesting. Second game of the year, and I was glued to the 2 games, actually. Michigan State, number 2, going up against Kentucky, number 1, with Julius Randle. And then the game of the year, Duke, Jabari Parker, Kansas, and Andrew Wiggins. A lot of Wiggins haters. They're saying that he's too small, he doesn't make plays, he's doing this, that, he got to get that jump shot back in order. Yes. But at his current level right now, I see him as being an average NBA player. Like right now, if he was to go to the NBA right now, he'd score 10 points, 5 rebounds, and play off the bench. Right now. It's the second game out of high school. Guy is going to be a stud. Is he going to be LeBron? Probably not. The lack of playmaking is the only thing that kind of separates him, I think, from LeBron if he can bulk up. But he's definitely going to be a scorer. If he gets that jump shot going, which we all know he can, because shooting is not something you lose as you move up, right? Maybe the players get bigger, players might contest your shot, but shooting is not something you lose. So Andrew Wiggins is going to be a stud.
And the big difference I would say right now, and as Swap mentioned, he's 2 games out of high school. And let's not forget, he was originally a class of 2014 player, so he actually reclassified to class of 2013. So he should be in grade 12 right now. Playing his last season of high school as opposed to his first season in NCAA. So let's cut him some slack. I know draft picks and being the next LeBron or the next Durant or whatever it is. Like, there's a lot of hype, right? So watching him right now and seeing his raw potential and only seeing him as an athletic player, and you say, okay, well, everyone's athletic or whatever, right? So difference between him and LeBron, maybe coming out of high school, is LeBron handled the ball a lot in high school. So he's gone through the phase of playing that point forward all the way back to grade 10 or whatever it is. While Wiggins has always played with a good point guard, he's always been physically dominant against players. So he's always played usually on the inside, usually using his height to maybe shoot over smaller players and drive to the rim, dunk on them, spin, whatever move he likes to do. And he hit a step-back jumper late in the game against Duke, which kind of showed his potential. And if he can make that his shot, who knows, man? Sky's the limit.
Do you think Kevin Durant is a fair comparison?
Not right now. Kevin Durant has been scoring since he came out of the womb. He led the NCAA in scoring in his only season in the NCAA. NBA, he's led the NBA in scoring in the last 3 years. And Durant has always been a natural shooter. And as Swap mentioned, Wiggins' jumper isn't there right now, at least not consistently. And he just needs to the game needs to get slower for him. Right now is his first couple of games. He's playing good teams. He played against Duke and he did his thing. So when he starts getting into the groove of things and the game slows down for him, which is very important, and he calms down when he has the ball and everything, and when he gets used to the pressure, because there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of hype, I think Paul George is a better comparison, because Paul George couldn't shoot when he first came to the league, and look at him now.
Jabari Parker, this guy's good. Is he going to be great? That's where I'm questioned. I almost feel like he's reaching his peak now, and he'll level off at this, and he can make plays. He can run up and down the court. He's not as fast as Wiggins. He's obviously not as tall, not as athletic as Wiggins, but he can make plays, and that's what's going to keep him in the league for a long time, and probably make him a very valuable component of any team. Julius Randle, Big Z, right? Sorry, Big Z. Zebo. Big Z, different player, but Zebo. But I don't think he can be much better than that. That's the thing. I see Wiggins as having the potential to be one of the top players ever to play the game, but I see Randle and Parker showing it more now.
Right. And this goes back to the whole, Canadian system versus American system, right? Because these kids, they probably pick basketball, or their parents put them in basketball from a very young age, maybe 7 years old when they could first play. So they've been doing this for a long time. Over time, they've grown, they've picked a position, they've developed skills, they've played AAU every summer and all that. So, like you said, they might have peaked right now, and you don't know how much better he could get. But then the question becomes with these players, and with Randle specifically, is how many years can you do that? And the way he plays, he tries to be physically dominant against the players he plays against because of his size. He's 6'9", 250, and you don't get too many 6'9", 250 guys in college. And Kentucky, they play against some below average teams, and that's where you find him putting up. But he did his thing against Michigan State, number 2 team in the country. And how long can he be physically dominant? If he gets to the NBA, can he do that against, Kevin Love? Can he do that against even Chris Bosh? Can he do that against Kevin Garnett? We don't know, right? So what he does right now is okay in college, but we don't know if he can put up these 2010 numbers in the NBA.
Couple other stories coming out of basketball. Indiana, absolute domination, undefeated. Utah, absolutely horrible. Don't even bother. I feel bad for you, Utah fans. Salt Lake City, you had the Olympics. That was the only thing you'll ever get out of any kind of professional sport. Miami struggling a little bit, but came off a couple losses. They're doing okay now. Chicago not doing too well. Philadelphia doing very well. who else am I talking about? Phoenix doing outstandingly well. I was watching Oti. Actually, when we were supposed to be doing our assignment, he was watching Phoenix versus Portland. Seriously. Who watches Phoenix versus Portland? Oti does. That shows you what kind of teammate he is. Overall, NBA season looking good, right?
NBA season looking very good, and you can catch my articles on candidacy.ca. I try to give you a bi-weekly look at the best games so far, MVP races and power rankings and all that. So definitely check that out. But the NBA season is going to be one of the most highly contested seasons this year because the Pacers, the Heat, the Blitz is coming up soon. So I'm gonna actually have some more basketball stories in there. And definitely watch out for the NBA season. Raptors, they actually went into Memphis and did some things. So you never know with games this season. And on that note, we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to the Blitz. It's going to be a minute this time, but I don't need anyone timing me. So keep your hands out your pockets, Gurveer. I don't need your timer. And I'm ready to go. Are you guys ready? You guys ready? All right, let's do it. So the first story I'd like to talk about is Space Jam. Space Jam, the movie you may all remember as your introduction to basketball and Michael Jordan. And Yahoo, not ESPN, made a mockumentary, 30 for 30 mockumentary, to mimic the ESPN 30 for 30 series, and they killed it. It's actually one of the better ones, and it actually got you really interested in knowing how Michael Jordan ended up playing with Bugs Bunny and the rest of them against those aliens. So definitely check that out on yahoo.ca or whatever. Switching gears, for the ladies out there, I know there's lots of ladies listening. Russell Westbrook, the latest NBA underwear model. So I heard you once had a deal in, no? Okay. So Russell Westbrook, underwear model, and, Kevin Durant was asked about a question about what he thinks about this, and all he could say was, hey, as long as he gets me some free underwear, I have nothing else to say. Switching gears, and last story I'm going to talk about this time is Glenn Davis. Glenn Big Baby Davis has been irrelevant in the NBA this year, playing for Orlando. I don't even know. And, he went to a motel in Orlando this week and he absolutely spazzed out. He got told by the, front desk person that there were no hotels in the room, and I guess she didn't know who Glenn Davis was. So after putting his head on the counter for a few seconds and trying to calm himself down, he realized he wanted to do the other thing, which was take the keyboard, throw it around, take the computer, throw it against the wall, and just pretty much vandalize the motel's, reception. And with that, bring you to the end of the Blitz. Swap.
A couple other stories. Someone is leaving our studio. This is so unprofessional. I need you to get on top of this. So a couple things in the Blitz. A, know who the players that you're talking about play for before you... I know what they play for, man. Just saying.
Trying to make a point. That's irrelevant.
Steve Stamkos. Let's talk about him for a little bit before we wrap up the show. A gruesome injury. Crashing into the net in Boston, breaking his leg. Yep. It wasn't as disgusting as that Kevin Ware, who, by the way, had started playing again, but still a horrible loss. He's probably out for at least 3 months. Tampa Bay, who was first, lost their leading scorer and the league's leading scorer, not to mention Team Canada, who's going into Sochi, come February, is in big trouble without Steve Stamkos. The Russians are good. The Americans are going to be good. The Swedes are going to be good. The Czechs are going to be good. A lot of people are going to be good. Without the league's leading scorer and probably the best player in the NHL right now, it's going to be tough. Guys, final thoughts before we wrap up the show.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to all the Canadian athletes playing in the NCAA basketball season. I know we got Nick Stauskas and Andrew Wiggins definitely holding the flag for Canada out there in the NCAA, and I wish all of them the best in their seasons.
All right, and my last shot is going to be a little bit unrelated, but it's a little bit related to what you guys mentioned. You guys mentioned how I get all my clothes from Pittsburgh, right? The Pittsburgh Outlet Mall. Well, this weekend, I'm going to make my way to Milton. And Milton had, I think it was last year, they opened their big discount outlet store, mall, whatever, So I'm going to make sure, I'm going to go down there, and I want to find loafers, and I want to find a good pair of sneakers. So, Milton, premium outlets, the challenge is set. If those are there, you may replace Pittsburgh for me.
So we'll group you in with Best Buy Milton Premium Outlets. We apologize for all the unwanted attention that we're bringing to you, and we hope that you don't try to sue us. Final thoughts for me. Let's see. Get your flu shot. It's going to hurt your arm, but get it. It's going to make a difference in the long run. Going to be a warm weekend, guys, so get out there. Watch out for the rain on Sunday night. We have about 13 to 15 degrees. That means beach weather for you guys. I know, Oti, you're going to head out to the beach, get that Speedo going. So good times for you. Good time for you too, Gurveer, if you're joining him.
Hey, Westbrook's going to send me some underwear, all right? That's why I gave him a shout out.
Westbrook. No underwear for you, Oti. But have a good weekend, guys. We're midway through November. Oti, you're going to be out next week, actually. You want to tell the people where you're going?
I'm going to New York, the center of the world, most beautiful city in the world, Times Square, we out here. I might go watch the Knicks game. I might go, drive up to New Jersey, catch a Nets game, Brooklyn. Brooklyn, catch a Nets game, just doing my thing.
So he's actually not going to New York City. He will be in the state of New York, but he will be in a small town called Hauppauge. Hauppauge, town of maybe 110. Their claim to fame is the Hauppauge High School and the Sbarro's Pizza. It's right off the freeway. Check it out, Hauppauge. We'll see you there. MIT Sports Analytics Conference. For those of you who are interested, go get your tickets now. Phil Jackson confirmed, and the commissioner of the NBA confirmed. Go to sloansportsanalytics.com, something like that. You'll find it, and hopefully you'll see me there. For the rest of us who's in the studio, which is no one, we apologize for the technical difficulties that we were having, and we assure you next week we will have that fixed, hopefully. But enjoy your weekend, guys. You have been listening to In the Core.
Number 22, Andrew